We're having trouble getting in. Let me light the candles here. Well, hello everybody. Everybody who's out there, give a wave. We are missing several people who I guess are going to try to get in. And so I'm going to say that if any of our people on the waiting list are out there and want to try to get in, now's your time to come. This is my buddy, Tonen O'Connor.
Hello.
Tonen is from the Milwaukee Zen Center, which you were the founder.
No. Not the founder at all. The group goes way back into the 1970s. It took a real formal shape when my teacher, Tozen Akiyama, came there in 1985. And I joined the group in 1986.
And she is visiting Japan, one of her many trips that she's made here since the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very, very nice to give us a day to come visit us here in Tsukuba. She'll be spending the night with my family and the cat.
Very good.
And tomorrow I run you over to the airport.
Yes.
And in between, hope to spend a lovely day together.
Sounds good.
We are honored to have you here, Tonen.
Thank you very much.
Today, because it's such a late hour here, our procedure will be a little different. We will be reciting the Heart Sutra in our hearts. And I think we will just begin Zazen today. We will start with the 30 minutes of Zazen, then about 5 or 10 minutes of Kinhin.
Mm-hmm.
Then Tonen will grace us with a talk of about 20 minutes, and then we hope to have a question and answer session. Some of the people who are supposed to be sitting with us, I see, are still, there are some open spaces, so I think some people are having some difficulty to get in. But if you can come in through the first few minutes, feel free, just come in. All right, shall we begin? I'll ring the bell.
Okay.
Inhale. We will now have a little talk by Reverend Tonen. Let me do one thing before you get
Sure.
started, Tonen, get everybody settled. 聞きながら、ずっと同じように、誰も輝いてないところから聞いてください。今のところから。I'm going to send out invitations again. We're still missing a couple of people. Maybe if I invite them again. Do it here. There we go. And do it over here. All right. Can everybody hear okay? Give us a wave if you can.
Looks pretty good.
All right.
And let me know if you don't hear me, because if this is new to me.
Okay. I'd also like to say that this is the first time we've had a great-grandmother speaking to us here, who has been hauling her bags by herself all across Japan. You said you had a little help with your bag,
I
but
had
I've
a
seen you
great deal
move.
of help with my bag.
I've seen you move for the last many days, and we are honored to have you here.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I thought I would talk a little bit tonight about a word that I have been thinking about. It's a word that is difficult for many of us. The word is religion. For many, many people, religion has a sort of bad taste because they think of it as being something that involves dogma, hierarchy, large organizations, bureaucracy, ceremonies that may seem meaningless. And I have a great many people, at least in the US, who will come to me and say, "Oh, I love Zen. I love Zen because it's not a religion. It's just a way of life." And I found myself always answering, but I thought religion was a way of life. Something is not a religion unless it is indeed something that permeates our life. And it has nothing to do with the Vatican or the Shumacho or any of the other possible organizations. Kodo Sawaki Roshi, whose teachings I admire very much, had this to say. He said, "A religion that has nothing to do with our fundamental attitude toward our lives is nonsense. Buddha Dharma is a religion that teaches us how to return to a true way of life." Well, of course, the immediate question that comes up is, what is a true way of life? It's easy to say, and the more I thought about it, there's a little title in this same book that says, "Religion is Life." And the more I thought about it, I thought, no, our life is our religion. Can you hear all right? Someone just come in?
Yes.
Okay. All right, carry on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, all religions, I think, began with a search for what is true. And different religions have found slightly different answers to that big, big question we have. But the word religion, religio, means something like to bind back. That was to return us to our engagement with this world. We tend to be isolated within ourselves, caught in our own little cocoons. And the original teachings in most religions that I know anything about were ways in which the teacher tried to help us learn to come into our lives. And then slowly it became corrupted because we became devoted to the teacher, not the teachings. we began to think that the attitudes, the gestures, the mannerisms were religion. But when I think about it, I've begun to feel that what we do every day is what signals to the world what our religion is. Within our own Buddha Dharma, we speak very eloquently about compassion, about interdependence, about the great community that we all live in, about the equality of all things within Buddha nature. And yet, if I speak eloquently about compassion, but I scream at my children, or I speak sharply to my neighbor, or I'm just too damn busy to listen to my coworkers' problems, those actions are more my religion than what comes out of my mouth. So that if we chase or put our focus on something and it fills our life, I think that speaks, at least to others, as our religion. Because it is not what we say we believe. I suppose I'm telling you only what's obvious. It's what we do that demonstrates our faith. If what fills my life is a desire for promotion, or what fills my life is a desire to get out of the situation I'm in, that is my religion for that moment. If the Buddha Dharma is to fill my life, it must translate into not sutras as texts, but the sutras that Dogen talked about, the mountains, the trees, and the people, and our actions. We are writing our own sutra. And so for me, it's not at all easy, because all of the human things that have to do with my ego just come right up there all the time. And they speak about what I want. And that word I is an isolated kind of sound, not what we want. I very easily fall into us and them, which in English, I think, are the two most dangerous words we have. I like to think that the Buddha's teaching said, it is not us and them, it's we. It's all we. And that's difficult, because all of my own personal likes and dislikes, the things that irritate me, or the things that I try to hang on to, those rise very powerfully, and they can kind of muffle all of that lovely teaching. And when we sit Zazen, maybe I should just say personally for me, and not make a generalization. When I sit Zazen, that's when I begin to understand in Shikantaza, as I let go of my thoughts, what they are. They are often my everyday self, playing out my own self-centered religion. But if I can let them go and let the rest of the world in, then I can begin to hear the Buddha's teachings on compassion, on engagement with the world, on respect. And they can begin to be the religion that is my life. So I'm not sure that I'm so disturbed by the word religion as some people, because I have this sort of private understanding that it is the teachings as they flow into my life or not. Often I find, at least in the US, that people will again say, oh, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. I'm interested in spirituality. And I guess I've never quite understood what they meant, except that perhaps if I am spiritual, it's opposed to I'm not material. I have withdrawn myself into a nicer place than the often mixed up, confused, and dirty world I live in. But that, to me, is a withdrawal. It's lovely, it's blissful. But the Buddha's religion said, it's in your life. You know as well as I know that he sought to ease people's suffering. And the suffering was self-caused by our clinging to what won't last and our craving what we can't keep. Those are pieces of our life. And so his suggestion was that if you will live in your life, in your actions to others, what you talk so glibly about, then all the analysis of sutras, of Dogen, whom I love very much, all of the reading that we can do, all the learning, is perhaps just fodder for my ability to say, good morning, to someone on the street I don't know, to accept the kindness of strangers without saying, oh, no, I can do it. You don't have to help me. I had a wonderful experience here in Tokyo. I walked quite a long way, and I'm not so young, to the National Museum. I wanted to see some of the old things they have there. And there are lockers, and you have to put your coat, of course, in a locker. And it's a 100 yen coin. I didn't have a 100 yen coin. I had 100 yen in smaller coins, and I was standing there very frustrated, counting out, the 10 and the 10 and the 10 that would make 100, and thinking perhaps I could go inside and get someone to change it. And someone touched my arm. Very young man, and he held out a 100 yen coin with a big smile. I was happy to say thank you, and also I could give him all my loose change, which in exchange. But that gesture, that little, I have a 100 yen coin if you need it, that to me is a religious life. It's kindness. The Dalai Lama is reputed to have said that his religion is kindness. It's very deep when you say that. We think it means, just being pleasant. No. It means empathy, sympathy. It means offering the coin to someone who may need it. So when I think of religion, I have to think of my life. I'm not always successful. I take a look at it sometimes and think, oh, rats. Here it's all about me again. But then, when I sit zazen or I read a sutra, I begin to understand a little bit what it is that I hope will permeate my life, so that my life can be, if you will, a religion of interdependence and compassion, and not a religion of my ego. I think I'm almost done. That's about it. That's all I have to say tonight to you. Thank you so much for listening. It's very strange to me to get to know you this way, but I appreciate it. So, Jindo, now what do we do?
Well, thank you, Tonen. Come over here. I guess we're going to have questions and answers, and I'm going to take each group at a time because I have to run back and forth.
Okay.
Behind Tonen. From the Jukai group, anyone have a question? Wave your hand if you do. Abid? Was that a question? Okay. Well, let me go the other way then. I'll go to the other side.
I've-
This is the first time for me too.
I'm afraid
Anyone over here have a question?
I've either
Wave your hand,
bored or
please.
stunned them into silence. Nope,
Nobody?
not a thing.
Sorry, Julio, I had a question.
Bryson in Indonesia, what is your question?
My question is, what about when one has already lived a lot of years with perhaps a wrong attitude? You know, I am new to this practice, and for many years I have been a very angry man and very uncompassionate. And now it is difficult for me to behave in such a different way. I am always making mistakes, and how does one cope? How do I cope my current practice with what I was for all my life? Did you understand?
I do. All your life up until now was probably a long time forming a habit. Habits
Yes.
take a long time sometimes to alter. So I guess I would say be patient with yourself. Be pleased when you can swallow your anger or irritation and not act on it. And have a little faith that as you continue, the old habit can be transformed into a new habit. I don't think for me, there's never been a quick answer. And you need to be patient with yourself as well. Sometimes, at least for me, my anger rises because I feel I can't handle something, I can't manage it. Anger is often an emotion of frustration. So perhaps if you can sort of say to yourself, I can manage this or I can let it go, it might help. But I don't know a quick fix for it. I think you're well on the road, if that makes any sense.
Another question? Wave your hands like crazy so I can see you. Okay, Bryson in Indonesia.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, Tonen. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. My question is actually outside the scope of your talk today. Actually, reading a little bit about you before you arrived, I was interested in your work with the incarcerated.
Yes.
And wondered. Question sort of in two parts. Wondered what maybe brought you to that in the first place as an endeavour, as part of your sort of engagement with people, and the second part of the question is, what is the program like? Is it sort of like a Zen 101, or are there other aspects to that program that might be different from a Sangha on the outside, as it were?
Mm-hmm. Okay, first, I really stumbled into it. And I think that was probably a good thing, because if you set out to do something good, it's a sort of artificial intellectual understanding. A prison inmate wrote a letter to the Milwaukee Zen Center in 1998, and I answered it. He had some questions, and we wrote back and forth, and then one day he said, "Would you come visit me?" And I remember thinking, what? I'd never been near a prison. I had no idea what to do, and this prison was 2 hours away from me. And at that time, I had very bad knees, and I couldn't drive. And he said, well, there's a free bus. So I found myself at 4 in the morning, in the dark, in the central city slums, if you will, waiting for the bus. And I went to talk to him. And the whole experience was quite extraordinary. And that went on for a little while, and then he had a friend, actually someone who was Hmong, if you know that grouping, and Sue Lee was interested in having a group. It took about 1.5 years to convince the chaplain that a group was a good thing, and that was the beginning at Green Bay Correctional, which is maximum security. And what happened really was simple. I discovered that I had an affinity for it. And so since then, I've said to people, if you really want to help in this world, don't do it just because it's something you ought to do. Of the many, many needs that need to be fulfilled, find the thing that you feel comfortable with. I never would have expected it, but I found myself comfortable, and from that, the inmates are moved around from prison to prison, and so then I would get a call, an inmate saying, I've moved, and I've asked the chaplain, would you come here? And at one time I was going, it was really crazy, I was driving many hours to 9 different institutions. It grew into a program that today has 12 teachers, 8 teachers in 13 institutions and about 100 inmates involved. But it was almost accidental. And the second part of your question is we do a ceremony that I devise because I have, I worked mostly with men, had men of different nationalities, backgrounds, cultures, everything from Southeast Asia to, I stumbled into it because I have a friend who read a little something to me. So the service was we would begin with the 3 refuges, but we would do them Buddham Saranam Gacchami in the old Pali, because I had a few folks that did that. Then we would chant the Heart Sutra, and because the Heart Sutra is about how things are, what reality is, and we say that wisdom produces compassion, we then chanted the Metta Sutta. These are both in English, the Metta Sutta. After that, we did something from the Dhammapada, again in English, that has something to the effect of your brother is like you, never harm him. He who seeks to, I'm terrible, I'm old, I can't remember the words. The words, he seeks to save himself by harming others will never be saved, essentially. Then, by that time, we were sort of rolling, and then we did something that I wrote for them, specifically for the prison situation, and they were, I repent of my hatred and ill will, prostration. I repent of my anger and malice, prostration. I repent of my greedy desires, prostration. I vow to embrace compassion. I vow to embrace generosity. Now again, I've forgotten the other ones. It's anger, hatred, compassion, generosity, prostrations, and then we would do the 4 great vows, the Bodhisattva vows, in Japanese. And it was funny. It was sort of a foolishness on my part. I thought I have to chant this if I go to Japan for my own training, so I'd better have a way to know it. So I thought they're going to hate it. And then I would find these great big guys standing up and bellowing, Shujo, Mohen, and they loved it. And then we would finish with the 4 great vows in English. So it had us an arc of taking refuge, wisdom, compassion, a little bit about your own behavior, repentances, and vows. So it's a little different than what I would do in my own sangha in Milwaukee. Does that answer it?
We had a written question from Moksha. If I have,
Thank you very much.
you have a special story of a prisoner who was reformed or impacted by this practice?
I don't like the word reformed because it implies a kind of change from the bad to the good. And while what people are in prison for doing is, we would say, very bad, often horrible, but it's come right out of their human nature. So you have to go back into their human nature to try to see if they can move forward from that and change from that. I do have some stories. We published a small book called Buddhas Behind Bars, which was a story of 3 men in prison for long term, 2 of them for homicide, 1 for sexual assault, 2 for life, and how their lives had changed inside prison. I also am working right now with a man in prison. He is, Joe Cook has 14 years yet to go. I don't know what he did. I usually I don't ask the men. But Joe has devised, he wanted to help somebody on the outside. So in the prison they have a craft program, and I'm going to hold these up, or maybe you can do it so you think they can see it. Joe has been it won't show.
Wait a second, I'll get it.
Oop, no, it's going to blot out. The light's too strong.
Yeah.
Well, never mind.
They're beautiful.
I'll just, I don't, maybe if I just hold it in front of my, no, it reflects the light. What these are hand-beaded roses for a program that we're calling Flowers for Hope. And they're very intricately done. They're three-dimensional, and they take a long time and a lot of artistic effort. And we receive $20 for them, and of that $20, 30% or $6 goes to a refuge for the homeless in Milwaukee. So Joe, in prison, is able to support a program for the homeless in his home city. The remaining 70% goes back to Joe, but he then buys books with it to send to his godchildren in Milwaukee. Trevon is 13, Sonia is 11, and Melvin is about 7, I guess. And I had a letter from him saying that he wanted, and I wish I could, again, the picture I don't think this one will show up either, but he thought that they had things, pretty good, and he wanted he wanted them to give back in some way. So the Buddhist Peace Fellowship in Milwaukee serves a meal to the men at the guest house serves about 80 homeless men, and various organizations actually bring in meals, every day of the year, and we do it every month or so. And so Joe asked me to take his godchildren.
You send me the pictures later.
I'll send you the pictures, and you can post them. Who are African American, and they serve the dessert to 80 men at the homeless refuge. So it's a wonderful circle that enables somebody who is incarcerated himself to not only find peace with himself, but actually help somebody on the outside. And the whole thing was Joe's idea. What's most difficult is if you're on the inside, you can't. It's very difficult to help anybody on the outside. And we found a way through Flowers for Hope. In terms of when people get out, it's extremely difficult for them. It's much easier to be a Buddhist or a Christian or anybody else in prison because your life is rigidly ordered. You get out, all hell breaks loose. And let's say you've been in prison for 25 years. You've been allowed to make no decisions during that time or hold any minimal responsibility. And now you're out, you have to find a job, answer 1,000 parole rules for the parole officer, get your meals, find a place to live, reconnect with your family, and it's very, very difficult. So I have a handful of men who have come out that I feel very good about and I'm pretty confident in. Some of the others just disappear, and you hope you had some impact on their lives. I was saying to Jundo that I'm just happy if I don't read in the paper they've been killed on the street, or I didn't meet them again in prison because they couldn't make it. You don't do that kind of work with the idea you're going to save somebody, count them on your list of what you accomplished. You just help somebody who's sitting in front of you, and you hope for the best. And you're not surprised when they're human and they can't make it, and you meet them again, inside again.
All right, another question? All right, Sean. Put your mic on? Can't hear you, Sean. Put your mic on.
Nope.
Sorry, Sean. I think that happened a couple of weeks ago. All right, another question?
Me, Jundo.
Go ahead.
Kearney. First of all, thank you very much for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure.
I was thinking about gratitude. what do you think about gratitude and practice of gratitude in all these concept of religion you just shared with us?
I think gratitude is the most basic teaching. There's nothing. I have to be grateful for the air I breathe, or the fact that my lungs beat. I think if we feel immense gratitude for everything that is here, it's almost the ground base for what I was talking about. It makes it easier. It's so easy to feel ungrateful, as though somehow we've been promised something. I remember many years ago I read an autobiography by a woman who'd been in a mental institution for quite some time, and it was called "Nobody Promised You a Rose Garden." But we think they did, and we're not grateful because we didn't get it. I think gratitude is a remarkable thing. It's the basis for everything. We're given so much. So much. I've always amused, I don't know that in the U.S. anyway, we have people who say, "I didn't ask to be born." And I always have this funny image of all of us standing out there in a kind of waiting room and say, "You want to go?" "No, I don't want to go." "You want to go?" "Oh, I'm not ready yet." But of course, we're born. We need to be grateful, I think. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because gratitude is terribly important.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wave your hand if so.
I think we're done. Oh, no. Somebody here?
Where?
Well, I don't know. I thought I
No.
saw a hand and then
Going
I went
once.
through it.
Oh, wait, Joyo-san. Oh, we're not hearing you either. Where's your microphone? No, bad luck here.
Oh, fool.
Let me make sure. Fooey is right. Okay, sorry about it. If you write the question, I'll be sure to email you.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? You have a question?
Sure. No? Yes?
Okay, Yugen.
What is the
What is
here?
good? Wait a second. Maybe it's on my
It
side.
may be
Whoa!
us. Hold it.
You know what? You three are going to get questions right now because I figured out the problem's completely here. I had the sound shut off.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Okay. First, we're going to do Yugen, then Sean, and then Trina. Go ahead, Yugen.
Nope.
Go ahead, Yugen. Wait.
Sean and Joyo have questions.
Okay, I'll ask Sean. Sean, let's try again. Wait a second. Got to unmute your mic.
Broadcast, what's that?
No, that's just not working. All right, let's go to Trina. We'll get this right. Trina. There. Yes, now we hear you.
Okay. I wanted to say thank you for coming, and I really appreciate your talk. I'm just curious, your definition of religion is definitely something that I have not a very confident definition. So I'm wondering, is this
spirituality. That's something we hear a lot in the West
Yes.
and in the United States.
Yes.
I'm religious, but I'm not spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And people are clearly something.
Yes.
And like you, I feel the word religion is something I'd like to reclaim.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask you, in your own experience, how you helped or worked with people that you practice with to explore that.
I actually don't do it formally. It's something we explore if it comes up. And it usually starts with someone saying, as I said to you, I love Zen because it's not a religion, it's just a way of life. And then I usually say, but I thought a religion had to be a way of life. And then we start talking. I've not tried. I think it's very important that, as a teacher, yes, I express myself, forcefully sometimes, but a bigger job is to help other people, find stuff for themselves and to express it themselves. So I don't try to get people to agree with me, if that makes any sense. But I found, for instance, I wear I wear formal stuff all the time. I don't have to, but I found that it makes me a kind of access door for people. They realize it's okay to talk to me about religion. Religion is a kind of taboo subject. Sex got to be not taboo at all anymore. And I found that, I'll sit on a bus somewhere and somebody says, "What's that you're wearing?" And I'll explain. And then they say, "Well, my grandfather was a Baptist preacher, and he always thought," and now we're off. They can talk about their own religion. So I think for me, it's been a matter of sort of representing it without being embarrassed. I don't, I wear a rakusu for meetings and things. It got to be very fashionable, as you know, in the States for priests and ministers to kind of hide the fact that they were clergy. And I think it's maybe a little bit helpful if we don't hide it. But I think it's a word that we have to take away from the big institutions that people often rightly dislike a lot, and yet keep it as true to the teachings, so people don't, just rush off into some spiritual group when they've left what they think of as the church. It's not easy. It's not easy.
You touch on something very interesting towards the end there. The line between living our practice or being an example and proselytizing is very narrow.
Very narrow. It's a tightrope. You're always walking.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
Tonen is up tonight, a little past her bedtime, she let me know.
Stop it.
But I want to ask one question myself, if I may. You had a knee replacement,
Sure.
Knees, and you sit in a chair now.
Uh-huh.
We have a lot of people sitting in various ways because they have physical conditions. How do you find sitting in a chair? Is it a good way to sit compared to the lotus?
It's no different because the two reasons it's no different. One is there is no magical posture. Sitting in the lotus posture will not make you a bodhisattva or make you enlightened. It is a posture that is stable if you can do it. And it was a very stable posture for many cultures for many thousands of years. But also because I've discovered that the most important thing, and I think you can test this yourself, is the upper body, because you want to be stable and erect and able to, breathe comfortably and let your shoulders, keep the lumbar curve and let your shoulders settle. So that if you can do that in a formal posture, the choice to be formal and still is important. Beyond that, it's really no different. I'm embarrassed to say, or maybe not embarrassed, I'm proud to say, it's just not different. I know that my own teacher, who is Japanese, and who always sat, finally had to have minor surgery on one knee, and so there was a period of time when he had to sit in a chair. And another teacher, Shohaku Okamura, who was devoted to Zazen, but now actually sits in a chair because he has a bad back. But at that time, Shohaku felt that you had to sit at least half lotus, or it was no go. And I remember my teacher told me laughingly that his friend Shohaku had asked him, Akiyama, how is it sitting in a chair? And my teacher was quite straightforward, said, no different. That was the end of that. So what you need to do is find a posture that you can sustain, and you can be reasonably formally balanced, because the Buddha said that mind and body are one thing. They're not separate in any way. So I've always felt that if my body is balanced, maybe my mind has half a chance of also being balanced. So I don't ever consider it a substitute. On the other hand, don't just say, oh, I can't do it. What?
No.
You got a message here?
No,
oh, sorry.
Good.
I will not let people just say, oh, I can't do that. You need to try. But you will know when you need to find, as you know, there are many modes of, you can kneel in seiza, you can sit on a cushion in several different postures, but find one that works for you. Because sitting for a fairly lengthy period of time, I think, is important, because it allows your mind to settle. It allows things, the outside confusions, to go away. And I used to think that sesshin, for instance, were just some kind of awful competitive thing. How many more hours could I sit than you could sit? I realize now that what's really important is the long silence and the long time of being alone with yourself. So you want to find a posture in which you can do that.
All right, before we close, does anyone have a pressing question?
Is the hand here?
Michael?
No? Okay.
I saw it going. Okay,
Yeah,
you're
right.
the last then.
Well, I don't have a pressing question, but I do want to just reflect on the presence of gratitude with religion. Mm-hmm. And Karen also touched on it as well, so it was touched on. So really what I want to do is be thankful. I'm very grateful for your teaching today and being with us past your bedtime. So that is my expression of my religion, so thank you.
Thank you. I feel grateful for your gratitude. And I just get up very early. It's not because I'm old.
I think we're going to close with the verse of atonement and the four vows. Mm-hmm. If I may ask you to take a position to lead us today.
Not in the atonement. You'll have to lead us.
Oh, no. The Doan. Yeah.
So what?
You just stand here.
Okay. Tell me what to do.
You're okay after sitting so long?
Sure.
Hold on there. I'll put the chair here if you want to leave.
No.
You sure?
Yeah, no.
Okay, we'll just take your...
Okay.
Dasho. Dasho. Dosho, would you lead us?
Sentient beings though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way unattainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way not attainable, to save all sentient beings, though beings numberless, to transform all delusions, though delusions inexhaustible, to perceive reality, though reality is boundless, to attain the enlightened way, a way not attainable.
Extinguish our candles. And thank you. Come on over here. Let me show this group because they're not. Let me show you everybody here. We have the other group here today. Can you see them? Here they are. We had a big, lovely turnout here today. Okay, and would you come over and say hello? Wave.
Hello.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tonen.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you guys. Okay.